Hello, everyone. This is Aaron Christensen with Horror 101 with Dr. AC, and welcome back to The Stack, which has gotten taller since the last time we tuned in. An embarrassment of riches, to be short. Today we're going to be talking about Amando de Ossorio's Tombs of the Blind Dead, released by Synapse Films. It's got two different discs. One is our jam-packed one with lots of extras. I'll be talking about that in just a second. And the other one is just The Blind Dead, which is the US theatrical release, and it was recut, so that's available kind of as an extra. And the reason why they couldn't put it on the same disc is because there's so much going on in terms of special features. I first came to Tombs of the Blind Dead probably later, I want to say like the early 2000s. I was just kind of getting into international horror. Tombs of the Blind Dead is one of those kind of cornerstone Spanish horror films. You need to know about Paul Naschy, and you need to know about Tombs of the Blind Dead. And those are the great kind of like entryways into what Spanish horror was, especially the early 1970s. I want to just kind of like do a little blast from the past, which is my first review of it, which went a little something like this. The early scenes of this haunting Spanish zombie flick are so overwhelming in their thick, gloomy atmosphere that they cannot help but be admired for their sheer confidence and audacity. After writer-director Amando de Ossorio provides a brief introductory setup of three romantically entwined companions on a train ride through the countryside, he embarks on a breathtaking 20-minute dialogue-free episode that must be experienced to be believed. The jangling, chanting, percussive musical score and lively environmental soundtrack combine with eerie visuals to create an intoxicating, dreamlike aura, and the slow-motion scenes of our recently revived undead Templar knights riding horseback are particularly inspired. I would say that all of that still holds true today. I love this movie. I think it's just such a wild and wonderful, truly original vision. We have not seen monsters like this before. We haven't seen creatures like this before. I call them zombies in my review, and a lot of other people would refer to them as zombies since they are, in fact, Templar knights that have been resurrected and they come back to haunt the living. But Amando de Ossorio was very clear that they were mummies. And I can see some validity to that statement because they are kind of desiccated corpses. They are dried up. But I don't know that that necessarily makes them one or the other. I think, mummies are zombies if they are, dead and now they're back to life. So tomato, tomato. This new release from Synapse Films, as I said, is just packed with great supplemental material. This is probably the best this film has ever looked. It is a brand new restoration from the original camera negative, and it just looks fantastic. I've always been struck by the visuals, but now you can really see, because a lot of it's set at night, and you can really see the Templar Knights in all their glory. Just the edges are sharp. It's really, really terrific. We have three commentary tracks. The first is by author and noted film enthusiast Troy Howarth. It's a very informative and entertaining commentary track, as we have come to expect from our good friend Troy. The second commentary track features our star, Lone Fleming, and I do say Lone Fleming because that's how she says it. It's not Lone as in Lone Ranger. It's Lone Fleming. And she relates a bunch of just hilarious stories on the set, her and her working relationship with Amando de Ossorio. They talk about the troubles with nude scenes. They talk about, her scrambling over rocks and brazing her legs. It's a great and entertaining track, and she's a wonderful personality. The third commentary track is by Rod Barnett and Troy Gwynn of the Naschy Cast podcast. And these two guys are well versed in Spanish horror, so you are in good hands all the way through. It's very entertaining to listen to them banter throughout the film. It's like watching the film with two of your best buds who know everything there is to know about Spanish horror. But the jewel in the crown of this Synapse release for me was this new documentary. It's Marauders of the Mediterranean. It's a feature-length documentary talking about specifically the Spanish zombie horror film. And if we're talking Spanish zombies, we're going to be talking about Jorge Grau's The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, or Breakfast at Manchester Morgue, or Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, or Don't Open the Window, or the other myriad titles it's known by. And The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue and the Blind Dead films are kind of these key elements in examining Spanish horror in the 1970s. Those two films are kind of groundbreaking. Amando de Ossorio went on to create a little franchise for himself. He created 3 sequels to Tombs of the Blind Dead, Return of the Blind Dead, The Ghost Galleon, and Night of the Seagulls, all 3 of which have their moments, I would say. Ghost Galleon is probably the most problematic in that, it's on a boat. You don't get to have as many great scenes of them riding on horseback, and it's kind of a limited space, but it's still worthwhile. This documentary features interviews with Jorge Grau, with Lone Fleming, with Helga Linné. It's got Jack Taylor. It's got Sergio Molina, which is Paul Naschy's son. A conversation with several film critics, including Calum Waddell, Kim Newman, Steve Jones, John Martin, and Mike Hostench, who's the deputy director of the Sitges Film Festival. This is a great way to get introduced to Spanish horror, and Synapse Films' new release of Tombs of the Blind Dead is a wonderful addition to your library. Let us know your thoughts on Tombs of the Blind Dead in the comments below. Also, I'm going to include another 5 titles in the description of this video. You let me know what you'd like to see next taken off the stack. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.